The views, comments, stories, and opinions shared within this podcast are our own, or those of our guests, and in no way represent the views of the companies, associations, or organizations that any of us may work for or represent. All stories, events, and tales shared within this episode may or may not have happened in the manner in which they were told. They may or may not have even happened at all. The details have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty alike. This is Squawk Ident.
Booster 5503, stop and push.
Alpha Booster 5503.
I'm not sure what's going on with the ground crew, but they just pushed your tail back into a light pole.
Okay.
Yeah, they got you way off the center line there. They, unfortunately, it looks like the tail just hit a light pole, and you're kind of in a, basically stuck.
Okay, alright, we'll work it out, I guess. Booster 5503, thanks.
Ground Booster 5503.
Booster 5503, ground.
They're checking now to make sure they made contact. You can for sure see that they made contact, the tail on the light pole.
Yeah, the light pole was moving around. I think it hit, I think it's the APU exhaust. I think the horizontal stabilizer was just above it. I think it just touched the APU exhaust.
Okay, thanks. They're checking now, so we're just going to stay here until we figure it out. We'll probably have to go back to the gate.
Understood. Yeah, I think it hit, just hit the tail, the very tail of the aircraft. It looks like the light pole sort of resting on, I think it's the APU inlet door.
Alright, yeah, they don't know down there, so we're just going to return the gate, and then we're going to visually inspect ourselves.
Roger that. It'll bust out.
You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it.
You're listening to Squawk Ident, an aviation podcast that explores the many pathways to an aviation profession, the challenges that a professional aviator can expect in today's marketplace, and we share many stories along the way. I'm your host, Aviator Tony, a professional airline pilot currently flying for a U.S. legacy airline with close to 20 years on the flight line. Welcome aboard Flight 120 of the Squawk Ident podcast, recorded on the 11th of October, 2022, from the Aviator Sound Studios from somewhere in Southern California. On today's flight, I'm joined by Captain Roger and Rob D, and a very special guest host, Captain Rob Cosand. You might remember Captain Rob from Flight 104, The Speed of Heat. That's when we first heard all about his journey in aviation. On today's show, we will explore the possibility of hacking into a commercial aircraft's PA system, the recent changes to rest requirements for cabin crew members, and we'll ask the question, who is FAA acting head Billy Nolan? We also discuss nuclear aircraft, new financing options for student pilots, and the importance of knowing the key players that are in your aviation industry. All this and more on the 120th episode of the Squawk Ident podcast. Joining us today is a superb aviator and Squawk Ident podcast co-host. He is a former international professional racquetball champion, a member of the 9G Club, an A&P and avionics tech, an RC aircraft commander, a boat skipper, commercial drone operator, and currently an Airbus pilot for Legacy Airlines. The name we use here on the show is an alias to our employer, a U.S. mainline carrier. Joining us from his home podcast studio, where he is at the tail end of his staycation, from somewhere in Flower Mound, Texas, help us in welcoming our very own Mr. Rob D. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling pretty honored to be able to make two podcasts in a row. I know we're all busy and pretty excited to get this one on the way.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited for our guest today. And we'll a little bit later in the show, we'll talk about what we've been up to and how we actually got a chance to meet up here in Southern California.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah,
it's for sure. Good show.
And also joining us today is another exceptional aviator and Squawk Ident co-host. He's a professional CFI, II, and MEI flight instructor, a former Embraer 145 airline pilot, King Air instructor, a Dassault Falcon 900EZ and 2000 pilot, and a G650 commander. He is a captain and director of flight operations, a corporate operator as well. Joining us live from his 10-year-old son's Spider-Man-themed bedroom, where he's in timeout during this podcast recording, from somewhere in San Diego, California. Please help me and welcome back to the show, our very own Captain Roger. Captain, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Just like Rob just said, I'm feeling very proud and honored to be able to make two shows in a row. I think that might be a personal best for me, even if it is from the confines of this disaster of a room that my son will have He doesn't know it yet, but he's got some work to do when he gets home from school today.
Yeah, well, you found yourself a little quiet place to record, and thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure.
I didn't tell you guys. I'm kind of hiding also. It's kind of slightly long story, but they're out cat shopping.
Oh boy!
And I don't hate the cat.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to have anything to do with them when they get home. So here I am, hiding with the door closed, and this was the only place I could think of.
Did you put the scrunchie on the door so they know not to come in and bother you?
No, they'll probably hear me in here wondering what in the world's going on. Why are you in Tyler's room?
Oh my God!
Go away.
Well, I thought you had that wild tomcat that was around the neighborhood. What happened to that cat?
So the cat, we did have a cat, and the cat died a year ago.
Oh.
And why are you groaning?
That's too bad.
The best day of my life. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud on a public podcast.
Did I say that out loud?
And I really don't like him. And I basically was able to compromise.
Yeah.
And got a year without a cat. And I've been told that my year of compromise is up.
It's expired. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, welcome back to the fray.
Good luck with that.
As a cat household myself, I know how much work they are, and I'm sorry. Well, hopefully they pick out a good one. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited today, as we mentioned earlier in the show, because today we have a special guest host, gentleman who is returning to the show. The first time we introduced him was on Flight 104, The Speed of Heat. That's when we learned about his journey in aviation and how he came from a very prominent aviation family. Following in the footsteps of his family's decorated journey, upon graduating from the University of Oklahoma, he was commissioned to the U.S. Air Force, where he flew KC-135s for the 74th Air Refueling Squadron. He joined Legacy Airlines in the year 2014, where he flew 75s and 76s, and most recently, the Airbus A321 family of aircraft. Joining us from his home in Valencia, California, help me and welcome me back to the show, Captain Rob Cosand. Rob, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. Really excited. I've been trying to get you on the show. I appreciate it so much that you said, "Yeah, man, I could do it. Let's do this." And in honor of you, actually, I've been meaning to tell you this. A couple of weeks ago, I was on a layover in Maui, and I'm sitting there at the ABC store picking up some snacks, and I went, "You know what? Give me a little tin of those hula girls." And you know what I'm talking about? Because I got a bottle of whiskey, and so I got these cigars, and I'm just gonna wait until we fly together again.
Yeah,
and we can enjoy
I got mine sitting.
All right.
There's my box right there.
Nice.
Always ready to go.
Awesome. That is so cool. Wow. How have you been doing?
Doing pretty good. Flying the reserve life like we talked about previously. Never know where it's going to go, but making it work for us and finding that balance of get home and roll right into dad mode.
Yeah. Well, with a 17-month-old at home,
yeah,
that's what I wanted to ask you was, how is it being on reserve as, a relatively junior captain that's not quite able to hold a line yet and juggle the needs of the family with a toddler?
Definitely challenging. Definitely requirements of forward thinking. Sadly, that also includes being very expensive. So it's definitely to keep the flexibility with the babysitters while on call. You got to bring them in. And if I don't get called, I'm not just sitting there on the couch looking at them, taking care of my kids. I'm off doing all the other errands that need to be done to keep them on a schedule to allow me to be able to continue on with what I need to be doing.
Wow.
So expensive, but a lot of forward thinking, but set as aviation.
Yeah. And is your wife's schedule have any kind of flexibility in it too? She's a nurse at the hospital, yeah?
Not yet. She's finishing up this year at surgery rotations for training.
Oh.
Once she's done with that, it'll be more remote stuff doing. Still busy at the house, but definitely it'll be a nice time to have her around the house when I get home and get to enjoy and remember why we got married to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often said that every marriage is like at some point, especially with young children, every marriage is kind of like ships in the night. You only cross each other as one's leaving, and yeah.
So it's definitely nice. We've been we got our priorities straight. It's just definitely one of those little self-sacrifice for the time being, but definitely looking forward to rekindling and enjoying what we're working hard for.
Yeah, a little vacation once it's in order is definitely due. As some marriage counselor once told me, you and your spouse need to go find a hotel with no windows and just lock yourselves in every once in a while. Yeah, that's good. Well, and how's the flying on reserve? Are you flying quite a bit?
Actually, no. Mostly the Transcon still. Occasionally the red eye here and there, but definitely with the bidding strategies, I figured out how to stay away from those.
Mm-hmm.
But you do get what's the best word to say in it is sometimes luck catches up to you and you end up doing 4 pretty hard legs in a day.
Yeah.
Kind of like a regional routing going, this is what I don't remember signing up for this.
Right.
Multiple MELs, APU and up, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
But standard stuff.
Anything exciting happened to you in the past since last time we had you on the show?
Nothing magical. Just the standard bird strike here or there. But other than that, no real disturbances, no medical stuff, no vaping in the laboratory is always a fun one.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So there we are. We're at cruise, and I'm on the phone with the number 1 flight attendant. We're trying to get the meal order placed and what we want to drink, and all of a sudden, cabin smoke. CRC goes off. Bing, 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 bing. And of course, I got a cup of coffee in my hand and immediately do what I'm supposed to do. But I actually put my coffee down instead of throwing it. And I go, all right, what's going on? My aircraft. And we get through it. And she's like, I'll call you right back. We get on it. Boom, here's the paperwork. Guy, oh, I'm so sorry. Still doesn't matter because I almost spilled my coffee.
It's like that movie Traffic School. If you spill my cup of coffee, you failed as driver.
Exactly. So I mean that's been the actually most occurring thing that I'd probably say twice a month or so.
Really?
That's been going on, or at least that I've experienced. And I'm flying probably 60, 70 hours a month on reserve. So
that's quite a bit. Yeah.
It's a bit, but it's definitely an uptick from years past.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, we can definitely dive into that a little more.
Well, with today's show, we were talking about some pretty exciting, I guess you could say, news about the industry, and I really wanted to have you here to kind of get your take on what you've experienced so far here at the Legacy Airlines and your experience flying. With all those years in the military and your aviation family background, and your sister is also here at Legacy, so she's got a little bit of input there too. I'm sure she's told you a few stories.
Yep.
But before we get to that, let's catch up with Rob. Rob, now you just got back from you're finishing your staycation,
right?
And
today's the last day of my staycation.
Yeah. So what's all that about?
Well, I just. This is one of those failed bidding strategies when when you go to bid for your annual vacation. This is one of the weeks that they just threw on my schedule, and here you go. This is what you get. So it actually worked out pretty good because, as you know, we went to Southern California, and I got to meet up with you and take you out to lunch and everything, and we had a good time there. My daughter was my youngest daughter was looking at a school. It's called Chaminade University from actually Honolulu, Hawaii, and they happened to be playing Azusa in Southern California. So we took the trip out there and watched them play, and we got a chance to meet the coach and introduce ourselves and try to get on their radar for possible position on their team, as my daughter will be graduating in 2024. So got to meet the coach, assistant coach, the athletic director of the school. So it was a really good meeting, and we were really glad we made it out there. And then I got to spend some time with my buddy Tom. He's one of my best friends. We go fishing all the time up at the Canada. Got to hang out with him for the evening, and then flew back to Texas the next day. So that was that. And then this weekend, we actually flew out to Durango, Colorado, where my oldest daughter is going to attend Fort Lewis College in Durango. It's a Division II school. And we got to watch the team play a couple games and watch a football game, and just got to enjoy the sights and sounds of Durango, Colorado here in the fall season. It's a beautiful area. I'm sure, if you haven't been there, I do highly recommend you go.
Oh yeah,
take the time and go see it. It's beautiful. Got the narrow gauge railroad that goes up to Silverton, Colorado, and it's just gorgeous this time of year. And great places to eat and shop and hang out. And my daughter's gonna really have a great experience up there. Just Colorado's beautiful, as we all know. Yeah. But spent a few days there and came back yesterday, and here we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Durango's
vacation.
Beautiful. I used to drive up there from when I was living in Albuquerque. Go up there for skiing and snowboarding.
Couple-hour drive from Albuquerque.
Yeah. Yeah, really nice. So now let me get this straight. You have two daughters.
I do.
Both will be entering college a year apart from each other.
Yes,
You're
sir.
First officer at a mainline carrier. Are you rich?
Oh,
how the heck are you going to afford two daughters in college at the same time?
Well, I'm lucky. Well, my oldest daughter received a scholarship, athletic scholarship.
Oh, congratulations! Yeah.
So, that's huge. It doesn't cover the total expense of the school, of the tuition, but she is also getting an academic scholarship, and that's going to cover pretty much all of it together. So just need to find a couple grand here just to kind of tie in some of the loose end stuff with housing, mostly for the second, third, and fourth year. First year they have to live in the dorms and all that, but second, third, and fourth year she's probably going to want to live off campus. So we'll see what that but that brings. And then my other daughter, we're also looking for the same type of situation where she'll get a athletic scholarship, and then her grades are doing really well too. So we're hoping for an academic scholarship also. And we do have some money saved up for college, but not not the whole tuition. I mean,
right. Well, nowadays
this is the point where I wish I would have put in the time for that post 9/11 GI Bill that a lot of military guys got, because that's huge. I mean, that pays for quite a bit. So I could think not all of it, for at least one kid. So anyway. And
then I know Legacy Airlines has a scholarship program for the children of employees. Have you looked into that?
No. But I will be. Actually, I did see that on JetNet, but that I've been so busy I haven't even.
Yeah, there's so many programs out there. So. I think the union has a scholarship program for the employees' children, and I believe the credit union, the Legacy Airlines credit union, has some kind of program in effect for tuition help and low interest tuition loans, student loans as well.
So we're going to try to exploit every, grant and scholarship that there is to be offered. Obviously, the whole idea is to get out with net zero, or if not net positive, with the situation, and, or as little to no cost out of my pocket as possible. So
the lesson here, which is why I asked and brought it up, is, if you're a young aviator just getting into the industry, and maybe you have a family, maybe you're starting a family, maybe you're a single guy or gal that's just out there to have a good time and no plans to have children at all whatsoever. Either way, it's always a good idea to put a little percentage of your income aside, whether that be for future college tuition expenses or some natural disaster that happens. I have friends that were in Florida this past few weeks, and here I am. They're posting pictures of them pressure washing the inside of their house because of the flooding that happened in Eastern Florida. So, you never know when these expenditures might come up, or, with education expense. And if you have kids, especially, you do know. You just need to plan ahead. And there's so many programs out there. If you've got a good income, you have a 401k, hey, that's great. But there's always the opportunity to set aside just a little bit every month. It's not going to hurt. And, Captain Rob, we're talking to you here.
Here he is.
So yeah, always a good idea. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm really happy that we had a chance to have lunch together. Captain Roger, you've been flying. Last time we spoke to you were doing the Mexico, 36-hour layovers every weekend for the month of September. How did that work out?
It worked out okay for the first couple times. And then the third times actually didn't happen. First time I was there. That was when I was bedridden, right?
Yeah, you threw your back out.
Oh, yeah,
right,
you had a bad back or something like that.
I was an invalid in Cabo.
We kept trying to talk you into go getting a massage.
Yeah.
Okay, so I could share another story about that, but I cannot do that on a public podcast. Yeah, that was an interesting texting string that I had from another one of our pilots, but I digress. I was an invalid for the first time in Cabo, and the second time that was in the 900, and then the next weekend was the Gulfstream trip. Had another where I was not an invalid, so that was nice.
Nice.
Still no massages, Rob, for me personally.
Dude, just do it.
So that was a better trip, just because I was able to get out of bed and I was mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the third one, we actually just had a little bit of a change in the Gulfstream. Our mechanics needed to do some work on the Gulfstream, and the maintenance on that gets done in Salt Lake. And so since we don't, we have 4 airplanes, we have, now 8 pilots, but only a couple of them are rated on the Gulfstream. And so I had to move the plane. And so I had to pull myself off the third Cabo trip, which was fine for me, at least. And I moved the airplane between San Diego and Salt Lake on a couple different days that week. And then that was the last flight I remember. I'm not sure. There's so much stuff that goes on. Actually, like 30 seconds before you asked me what I was doing, I was on the phone dealing with the scheduling thing. It all just kind of runs together. I'm not going to lie. And I've got my hand in about 18 different pots trying to juggle what's going on from a scheduling standpoint. Because, for what I do, it's not just the flights that I do. I'm responsible for all the flights that I'm not on in terms of a lot of the logistics too. So,
yeah.
Man. My head goes in a lot of different directions.
Yeah. To be careful, man. They have a name for that.
Well, you see, you guys you guys do nothing except the easy part. We've talked about this before. You show up to the gate, and the gate agent looks at you, and she goes,
"Where's my crew mail?"
The paperwork, and she matches the names, and hopefully you're at the right gate. Hopefully you guys found the right gate. Okay.
Step aside, sir.
Which I'm sure you've never done before.
Mom,
let me correct you on that, Roger.
Roger, and you wander down the jet bridge.
They don't even look at us, Roger.
They just want to make sure we're there and go.
They don't even look at your ID. Make sure that they can't put a delay code on themselves.
Oh, they will. They'll put it on us.
I'd have to put a cowbell.
No, they want to make sure the delay code does not go on them. They'll put it on you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like, whoa.
And then, you sit down and you look around that thing that they call the flight deck that you in the airplane that you've flown for the past 5 years. You'll reorient yourselves and then you go flying.
Yeah.
As Captain,
at least Captain Rob down here, at least he's flown a few different aircraft types in his time.
Yeah.
Okay. I have flown 3 different airplane types in one day, and that's a challenge, my friends.
Such a slacker.
Yeah, sure is.
Part
you guys
91.
show up show up and you fly an airplane.
You don't even read a checklist. You're just like,
you're
flip,
making
flip,
it
let's
a
go.
lot harder than it really has to be, Roger.
And you know, in the end, I am not going to lie. Sometimes I look at myself and I'm going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Is this actually better? And I can't really tell. And then on the flip side, there are those days where I commute. There was maybe a month or two ago, I was going through Vegas. I actually remember, you guys probably remember when Vegas was getting hammered by the monsoons.
Yeah.
It was the day after they had a big. Tony's over there like, what?
What? I don't know.
It was like the day after one of these things, and the airport was a madhouse. And that day, I was just kind of wandering through, and I'm going, this is why I don't want to do the airlines, because I don't want to have anything to do with this, and everyone's upset and everything. But
you were flying commercially.
Yeah, I was I was trying to make my way back from Tahoe, and the only way to do it was Reno to Vegas on a connection.
And who were you flying on?
That was on Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, really? You don't want to go down this road?
Captain Rob's down there pretty quiet. I don't know.
There you go. And there you go. He said it, folks.
I typically fly on Southwest and Delta, and mostly that's just because of Inter-California. Southwest has a lot of flights, and then being Salt Lake. What's that?
Exactly.
He wants to get there.
He wants to get there.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you said it. And then because we have a plane base in Salt Lake, because Delta also has a hub in Salt Lake, we get a nonstop.
We get it. You're not a huge customer of ours. We get it.
We get it. Totally Legacy has.
I flew into Dallas for my retraining.
I appreciate it.
I flew Southwest.
So you went to Love. That's not Dallas.
I did.
Come on,
you know why I went to Love though? The important information. I went to Love because it's much easier to get and return a rental car at Love than it is at DFW.
Yeah.
That was why I did it. It really wasn't.
Buses,
it didn't have anything to do with any airlines. It was the rental car situation.
Yeah, and that's a trick too. If you're a commuter and you're trying to get to LAX or try to get out of LAX or whatever, and you don't have a time constraint, sometimes flying into Palm Springs and renting a car with a 2-hour drive connected to it is easier than having to wait 4 hours to make a connecting flight, which you're going to probably sit in the jump seat anyway. But then you have the expense of the car. But whatever. Yeah,
and there you go.
There you have it. Well, lately we've been. I'm sorry.
What's your time worth?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
And I do that with like fixing things around the house too. I'm like, okay, what do I get paid an hour at work? Okay, how long is this going to take me to do? And can I hire somebody to do it for me in less money? And if the answer is yes, I lean that way because my time is worth it.
That's how you're getting a little bit older, or at least for me, because I think about that in the same way. It's like all this stuff that you spend money on, before, where it was like, okay, well, holy smokes, I better do that by myself because I can't pay that. And now you look at the value of your time now, and it's the metric of that definitely has changed.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I'm kind of excited about this next story that we're going to cover here today. Can a commercial airliner's PA system be hacked? And what a better panel to have. And we're going to talk about the possibility of this. We ask after stumbling across a recent article entitled American Airlines Passenger Reported that an unnerving groan and moaning sounds came from the PA system that sounded somewhere between orgasm and vomiting. This is a story by
somewhere in between the two.
And we're going to actually hear a little bit about this too. A story by Bethany Byron from businessinsider.com. It was posted on their website on the 25th of September, and I'll have a link in the show notes. Now, this passenger, who was a social media guy on TikTok, decided he was going to post this anomaly, but it's not as uncommon as you would think. Passengers on board an American Airlines flight from Los Angeles to Dallas-Fort Worth earlier this month were thrown into a state of confusion and concern when strange noises began emanating from the airplane's public announcement system, or the PA. As documented by Emerson Collins, a now viral video, a bizarre series of ominous moans and groans suddenly filled the cabin shortly before takeoff, puzzling passengers and flight attendants. And they continued throughout the duration of the flight. Someone on this flight seems to have broken into the intercom system and continues to make sounds that is somewhere between an orgasm and vomiting, he said. And, because we can, let's listen in.
This ought
Someone on this flight seems to have broken into the intercom system and continues to make a sound that is somewhere between an orgasm and vomiting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we realize there is an extremely irritating sound coming over the public announcements. The flight deck is trying to troubleshoot, trying to turn it off, so please be patient with us. We know this is a very odd anomaly and none of us are enjoying it, so we do appreciate your attention just for a few more moments until we figure out how to turn it off. Thank you.
Who is having a puke yet?
That's hilarious.
That was the best one.
Okay, so we have to address this because as professional pilots, I can tell you that hacking into a PA system on board a commercial aircraft, this aircraft was an LA to Dallas flight, so it was either going to be, more likely it was an Airbus. By looking at the photos, I can't really tell the video, I can't really tell in the interior of the cabin because it's not really showing it, but it's either going to be an Airbus or a 737. How do you hack into a PA system? You can't. From what portal are you going to do this? Which tells me you have to pick up a handset, right? Or if you're not picking up a handset in the cabin to do this, you have to be on the flight deck. And on the flight deck, there are multiple ways to make a PA. You can either pick up the handset that the captain usually is reserved to use, and when pressing the push to talk, it just directly cuts right into the PA system. Or you can do it while wearing your headset by pushing a button on the radio control panel that says PA. When you push that button, it cuts everything out and you make a PA. Now, if both the FO and the captain try to make a PA at the same time, the captain's side, I believe, is priority, so it cancels out the FO side. There's also an observer jump seat that has a radio control panel. In the Airbus, there are 2 jump seats. So there's also a panel, on the overhead, panel that has a PA button. Now, this is clearly a prank, right? I think it's a prank from either one of the pilots trying to be funny, or maybe someone grabbed the headset from the rear lav, went into the lav with it, and the front flight attendant was not, on the phone with the rear lav. Who knows? I have no idea. We weren't there. What do you guys think? Is this plausible that someone can hack into the PA system?
Well, I mean, if you want to go the realm of Mythbusters, is it plausible or impossible? It's plausible in the sense that, okay, the only thing that I could think of, if you want to call it the term of hacking with computerized software and stuff like that, is somebody put in a software code through maintenance function or avionics technician that in the absence of a PA is doing something like a screensaver.
Oh, okay.
That's the only, if there was no one on the aircraft nefarious enough to actually be performing that, that could have been the only way possible, I think, that it could have worked. Essentially, somebody plugging in a USB drive onto the airplane to then corrupt the PA system when it's not in use. It does this soundtrack. If we're going down, I mean, those are huge ifs. But in terms of computer software coding, that's the only way that it's plausible.
Yeah.
Possible, no. Possible, yes. Plausible, no.
Yeah, well, the article actually goes on to kind of explain a little bit. Now, I don't know if this explanation that the American Airlines spokesperson gave to the media about this is actually what happened. But it says later in the video, a flight attendant is overheard saying, "I swear it's a prank," while walking down the aisle. And according to an American Airlines spokesperson, the sounds were a result of a technical issue, noting that the system on their aircraft are hardwired and there is no external access. Following the initial report, our maintenance team thoroughly inspected the aircraft and the PA system and determined that the sounds were caused by a mechanical issue with the PA amplifier, which raises the volume of the PA system when the engines are running, the spokesperson told the Insider. However, it appears this wasn't the only American Airlines flight that has been subject to strange noises. According to the Los Angeles Times, a passenger on a July flight from New York to Los Angeles reported similar sounds. This passenger, Bradley P. Allen, told the Times that the noises were nearly identical to those shared by Collins, comparing them to someone who is incapacitated by severe gastrointestinal problems, just moaning. He called the experience unnerving. So, flight attendants are standing by their phones because it isn't them, and the captain just told us on the flight that he didn't think the flight systems are compromised and that they're going to finish the flight to Dallas. Passenger continued. So, these problems are not that uncommon. If it's an amplifier amplifying the sounds of I don't think so.
No.
Amplifying somebody's bowel movements.
Yeah, engines don't sound like that. I mean, now, if I was a nefarious first officer, okay, and the captain's sitting there and we both have headsets on, and I reach over and push a button on a radio control panel without the captain noticing, and I quietly, into my microphone with my mouth as close as possible, go, it's possible with my head turned so that he can't see it. It's possible.
Yeah.
But
sure,
it's extremely unprofessional and highly unlike as probably as improbable as someone hacking into the system.
Yeah.
But
totally,
hey, it went viral.
That's funny.
I mean, can you believe this happened? Yeah, it's funny. Sorry,
that's funny.
Shoot.
I think I shared my story maybe on one other podcast, but it kind of runs along this same topic when I was at a Sandpiper. I think you remember me telling the story, Tony. I was on the 145, and we're cruising over somewhere mid-continent U.S. And it's not unusual for every once in a while a crew member to call from the back and say, "Hey, passenger wants to know where are we? What's going on?" So we're over whatever the Mississippi River. So we're flying along, and I get the call in the cockpit, ding dong. And I pick it up and I said, "Hey, this is Rob." And they're like, "Hey, where are we?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're over, Springfield, Missouri." And they're like, "Oh, how high are we?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're at 37,000 feet." "How fast are we going?" 450 miles an hour. How much longer do we have? I'm like, "Oh, I got another hour and a half." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." And they hang up, and then I didn't think anything of it. And then the flight attendant calls back and says, "Was the passenger just talking to you on the phone?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't really think about it, but I guess so. Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, he just picked up the phone in the back of the, the bulkhead and pushed the button that said pilot, and he just started talking to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, tell him I said hi." I was just so out of the blue.
But we never know who's calling us. All we get is a ding dong, and then you start talking, and you're like, "Hey, this is Sally from the front, or this is Joe from the back," and that's it.
Yeah, it's different for sure.
Rob, have you ever, Captain Rob, have you ever had an incident like that?
Not where passengers just started talking, but definitely, you can have some pretty interesting conversations with the PA system, and that's definitely one that I think we'll all agree we do enjoy it being a closed loop system. to where we definitely need to get certain lines of communication, but at the same time, we can have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've heard the stories before. Different aircraft have these little hacks where, like we heard of a story back at Sandpiper. I know, Rob, you heard this one too, where a particular flight attendant would go to the back of the aircraft, and while she would be back there, she would pick up the handset and push 2 buttons at the same time, which would then make the intercom system hot without a chime. So then she could listen in on what was being discussed on the flight deck, and without anybody knowing. And then she would go and claim harassment because she was listening in on a conversation. Now, you know, you shouldn't be talking crap at work because everything's being recorded. And if anything ever happens, all your dirty laundry is going to end up on the news because the CVR thing that it's not supposed to be released to the public without it, that's all gone out the window. So trust me, if you tell a dirty joke on the flight deck and after you land, you're going to skid off the runway, it's going to be on CNN and Fox and 6 o'clock news. I mean, it just, so be cognizant of that. And if you just don't care or don't give a shit, then you could say whatever dirty comment, off-color joke you want. But always be cognizant and be aware that, you know, someone might be listening in on your conversation up there. You're not as safe as you think you are.
Yep.
Roger, have you ever had anything like that?
I cannot say that these problems are really something that affects me.
Well, back in the day when you were flying for an airline, you were
back in the day
when
I
you
was
were one of
for
us.
An airline, when I was one of you. No, the PA system was not ever. I mean, I never thought about the PA system. I've never heard anything like that. You know, like you guys, I've ridden in the back of a lot of airplanes. I've never heard anything like that. I've never experienced anything like that. Like you guys had mentioned, the first thing I thought was like, this is a closed system. I don't think that it's even possible to hack into it because there's no way to get into it. Yeah. You know, airplanes themselves, you know, with the exception of the recent advent of the internet, that they do have. I mean, nothing on an airplane by design and by purpose and for reasons that we all can kind of figure out, an airplane is by itself unto itself. There is no way to get into it because that defeats the entire purpose of everything.
Yeah.
And past that, the PA system was never something I really thought about. It was just something that, you know, when I was one of you that we had to do.
Right.
And soon you guys will have to do it, Rob and Tony, starting in January.
Right. We used to have to do that. A couple of the PA, it was like whoever the pilot flying was would have to make the cruise PA. And the first officer used to have to make like the gate arrival PA and the pre-departure PA. And then because they said that was a pilot monitoring, pilot flying. And then when I came over to Legacy, I was kind of surprised to hear that, no, only captains make PAs. And a few captains have said, hey, Tony, you want to make the PAs? And I looked at them like, oh, but only captains make PAs, man.
See, that was one of the weird things that it kind of sounded like when, you know, you guys had over there that only the captains are supposed to be making the PAs, which I never understood. Like, what is this like a power kind of thing? Like, and not only that, who actually listens to the PAs?
Folks from the tower.
I mean, we'll just say there's 150 people in the back of the airplane, probably even more on most of the airplanes now. And how many are actually listening to the PAs? 10?
They've cleared us to push back. We'll be departing shortly.
Now, this is where you get a little fun because I do have the list of my crew, and I'd say I'll rattle off the names of the 4 flight attendants. Insert Betty, John, Susie, and Kelly. Whoever can tell me the first names of my 4 flight attendants, I'll give you $100.
What?
Have you paid it yet? None.
0.
Not only they have to be listening, but then they need to remember.
Well,
exactly.
But they have little name badges on, so they could cheat and go.
But then they would need to go get up and go throughout the entire cabin, and I'm sure that Rob's smart enough to put a time frame on that.
Number 4 rarely comes up to the first class, so they never see that.
Yeah, number 2 and number 4 So yeah, we
rarely
have 4
come all
flight
the way to
attendants.
first class, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll
number
tell you
1
what.
and number 3.
Next time I'm flying on Legacy,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay attention just in case Rob's flying up there. And I'm going to come up there and I'm going to collect
Boom.
$100.
Hit it.
$100.
No,
In
I'll
the
get
form
a
of a check payable next year.
Venmo.
Now, here's the truth, Robin. Be careful. This is what's going to happen. Roger will be like, "Hey, can you give me the NS on flight number 1432?"
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Hold on." Screenshot it.
Actually, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? If I see Rob and I get on the air, I'm gonna need to do this, and I'm gonna get my whole row and everybody around me, and I'm gonna take a cut. So we're all gonna ding. We're all gonna give the names of flight attendants. And I'm gonna take 50% from each one of them.
You're like,
I like it.
Damn, I'm never doing that again.
Well,
now the secret's out, so you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry. for all 7 people that listen to this podcast.
You never know.
You do never know.
I'll gladly pay if it ever happens.
Oh, that's so cool. But speaking of cabin issues and cabin crew members, recently, a pretty interesting article. We've been talking about this happening here on the show, that it was inevitable. We saw, actually on the last episode, on the last flight, we talked about this, right, guys? How the rest requirements stemmed from incidents that happened with the Colgan crash in Buffalo years ago. And that changed the way we look at ATP minimums. It changed the way we look at rest requirements. And all these came from that report. Now, the FAA changed rest requirements for pilots, and we no longer have rest requirements under Part 121, which is airline carriers. We now have rest requirements under Part 117. And it's a whole convoluted thing with multiple tables. Are you an international going to multiple theaters, or are you domestic staying in one theater, and all this stuff? And it depends. Like, you have to look at your base time and what time did you start your day, home base time. And depending upon that, a bit depending on the table you look at or which chart, you would figure out how many hours can you fly for that day, and how many hours on duty, meaning from when you an hour prior to departure time, you have to be at the gate and ready to go, to the 15 minutes post-flight, or international, what is it, 20 minutes post-flight. So that's your duty time, the time you're on duty. So if you have a 4-hour sit in the middle of the day, that counts for your duty time. So you have limits to these things. The flight attendants never had that change. They've always been under the original 121 rest requirements that pilots had. And for that, it was, minimum 9 hours of flight time. A minimum of 9 hours of rest. And that could be lowered to a reduced rest scenario of 8 hours, no less than 8 hours. But then within 24 hours, you need to make up for that hour by getting compensatory rest of 10 hours. Now, this whole convoluted thing was a little simpler because there were no tables and charts. It was just a hard rule. But flight attendants no longer have the same rest requirements as pilots. And so what's been happening over the years is pilots are going to the layover and the flight attendants keep going. And then the flight attendants go to the layover, but the pilots keep going. And so you never have there's no overlap. There's no continuous crews that fly together for multiple days. It's very, very rare. But after years of pushing, the flight attendant union finally got it passed. And I think it's in part because of the new acting head of the FAA. It was a hot button topic for him as well. So in a recent FAA rule, it gave cabin crew members more rest by increasing the minimum rest between flight periods from a minimum of 8 hours to a minimum of 10 hours. A great article that I found on this is from 1 Mile at a Time, an article written by our favorite author, Ben Schlappig, on the 4th of October, 2022. I'll put a link in the show notes. And here he talks about all the different work rules. A little bit about the article, and then I'll play some audio. There are all kinds of work rules for airline crews. Minimum rules are generally mandated by the FAA, and the individual airlines can choose to implement more generous policies as part of their contracts. Along those lines, the FAA has today, the day from the article came out, finalized a rule requiring a minimum of 10 hours of rest for flight attendants between duty days. This applies when flight attendants have a duty period of up to 14 hours. If the duty period is longer, they get even more rest. As a point of comparison, previously, flight attendants generally had a minimum of 9 hours of rest, though in some cases it could be as little as 8, as we mentioned. They had a news conference at DCA, at Reagan International. They talked about the rule change. Really, the first I heard of the acting head, Billy Nolan of the FAA. I didn't really pay attention to who's in charge. So occasionally I'll read an article and it's somebody different. But then they asked a question in their Q&A session, talking about disgruntled passengers and what the FAA was going to do about it. And here's what they said.
Question from, I'm sorry, Tony. Question about how to handle disgruntled passengers moving forward. Question for both of you.
Thank you for the question. Look, we have a zero tolerance policy. We've seen a dramatic, certainly with the mask mandate that has gone away, we've seen a dramatic decline. But we still have a zero tolerance policy. So whether or not it is mask or any other time, if people act up on an airplane and act out of character, we're going to put them on notice and we're going to take action. Our role within the FAA is to protect crews. That is first and foremost for us. We will do everything within our statutory power to ensure that people who do wrong things have consequences for those actions. Sarah.
Look, the incidents are still too high, and you called out the clear problem of all full airplanes and minimum staff. Number one, this rest rule, the airlines have said that they will have to hire more flight attendants. That doesn't necessarily mean more staffing, but of course it means people are not going to be as exhausted as they're dealing with this. That is helpful. It's also been very helpful. I want to be very clear that the FAA has taken a leadership role on this issue. It was very important that on January 13th of 2021, they set out that zero tolerance policy and have been very clear about rolling out fines, have worked with us to coordinate with law enforcement, airlines, airports, to move communication to help everyone understand that this is a responsibility across the board. That communication and jurisdiction issues to be able to respond to these issues so there are consequences on the other end are very important. The MOU between TSA and FAA to take people out of the pre-check program because they are no longer trusted if they are acting like this on a plane is very important. The MOU with the DOJ so that FAA can move its investigations over to DOJ and speed up prosecution and get people to those jail sentencings faster because of that is very important. These consequences are very important. We need to continue to act together, call this out, and make sure that flight attendants are getting the backing that they need. Our union would also say that we want lawmakers to move on a banned passenger list. It is possible to do that with a due process. So we continue to promote that. We also continue to call on the airlines to increase staffing both at the gates and on the planes. And we also call on everyone in any leadership position anywhere to call out helpers and to lift up helpers and to recognize that actually this is a small handful of people making it hell for flight attendants on the front lines of their work and making it very difficult for travelers who just want to have a safe, uneventful flight, which is the vast majority of people.
Sounds like they're addressing quite a bit of things, and along with the rest rules, which I think we could all agree the rest rules was something that needed to change for a long time. It's rough watching some of our team members in the back there. You know, there's some of them are so exhausted. Yeah. You know, they just didn't get enough rest, or you know, they're just oh yeah. And then the ones that to protect them, the ones that extend when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, the ones that extend their duty. Oh my, it goes on like for hours, and unlike us, where we have protections in place. That was Sarah Nelson, president of the Association of Flight Attendants, or the CWA.
talking about the passengers and how rest is critical to be able to handle these disturbances, and how we really need to step up the prosecution of those that act out on board an aircraft.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff going on. It sounds like they're addressing it. I like the TSA thing that they talked about, though.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody acts out, yank their TSA pre-check.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other part of, our industry that's kind of off my radar. But, it's obviously there's a lot of issues there that are very important that need to be addressed.
Yeah. And we were going to talk a little bit about TSA today, but decided there's some other stories that we wanted to talk about, like funding for tuition for flight training, who our Billy Nolan is, and we're going to learn a little bit about him right after the break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Well, we've been talking about the future of aviation lately. We've been talking about the sonic boom manufacturer. We've got multiple legacy carriers that have put in money down for orders. What do you call it when you haven't really made the product yet, but you're looking for money for it?
Need money?
Options?
No. They call it like when something's coming to market and you put money down and it guarantees you'll get one.
Layaway?
Deposit?
Oh, man. Anyway.
Options?
No.
Layaway?
It's something on the internet. Yeah. I get stuff like that on Instagram all the time. Be a part of it when it comes out.
Crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding or crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing.
IPO.
Yeah.
Initial public offering.
SPAC?
You guys are
Reorder?
talking. I think it's called crowdfunding or crowdsourcing. But anyway. All right. So lately we've been talking about these options for the technology that is just right around the corner for aviation, and how everything we're talking from biofuels to supersonic jets. We know that there are certain legacy carriers out there that have already put millions of dollars down on deposits on orders. That's kind of like crowdfunding for airlines. That they're going to get options for when the first ones come out. The technology might not be there yet, or they haven't built one yet. It's still under the R&D portion of that particular aircraft, but they're getting in on the ground floor. Well, I came across an article the other day that I really, was excited about. Because it is potentially something that could be the norm. Maybe we don't need Jet A anymore to fuel our aircraft. Could Jet A become obsolete in the near future? That's what we asked when reading an article from the Points Guy entitled, "The Nuclear Power Hyper Sting Could Whisk Travelers from London to New York in 80 Minutes. Article by Matt Blake, posted on the 3rd of October. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes. Imagine flying from London to New York for a lunch meeting and being home again in time for tea. Well, that could soon become a reality for transatlantic business travelers if one aviation designer gets his way. But don't pack your bags just yet. Spanish designer Oscar Viñas claims his latest invention could spirit passengers across the Atlantic at 3 times the speed of sound, making the trip from Britain's capital to the Big Apple in less than 80 minutes flat. The theoretically named Hypersting would not only be twice as fast as London to New York record holder the Concorde, which managed the route in 2 hours and 53 minutes, but it would almost be twice the size. At 328 feet long, the Hypersting would carry 130 to 170 passengers. In theory, it could reach a maximum speed of 2,664 miles per hour. The Concorde measured only 200 feet and could carry only 100 flyers and had a top speed of 1,354 miles an hour. Meanwhile, an average commercial aircraft currently flying at 460 to 575 miles an hour. So there's quite a big difference there. It would mean a trip to London and New York would take about as long as a subway ride from the Bronx to Brooklyn. But will it work? The aircraft's success as the fastest commercial passenger airplane in history lies firmly on the as-yet untested theory of cold fusion via a cold fusion nuclear reactor that would power 2 ramjet engines and 4 next-generation hybrid turbojets. Vanal's claims that his vision for the new dawn of high-speed air travel would be capable of hitting Mach 3.5. Currently, such innovation technology is in the preserve of the military. The fastest aircraft ever to shoot through airspace is the now retired North American X-15, which reached a face-melting speed of 4,520 miles an hour, or Mach 6.7. This happened on October 3rd, 1967, 55 years ago. When will it work? Among a number of questions that hang over the Hypersting's future is one about its financial viability. What are the production costs of such a jet, given the issue that ultimately led to the demise of the Concorde? Vanals, however, remains bullishly unburdened by the significant doubt over his idea from the aviation community. Let's see here. He was quoted as saying, "The Concorde was a brilliant piece of machinery, a noble experiment, but it put too many emissions in the environment and too much noise over our communities, and was too expensive to operate. The new era of supersonic flight might be just around the corner, but there are challenges to overcome when it comes to flying faster than the speed of sound. The Hypersting is a new concept of future supersonic commercial airplanes," he added. He does admit, however, that supersonic flights will return, but in this case, due to some very innovative systems like the cold fusion reactor, the date of a possible production would be over 2030, and the cost will not be cheap. Now, gentlemen, I have fantastic co-hosts today. And Captain Rob, you've got some experience with military information, as does our own very Rob D. Scram jets, next-gen engines. Explain this to me. What does this all mean?
Pretty much the future that you've seen, and it's already being brought out in some movies and stuff like that, especially the latest one, Top Gun Maverick. Scramjet technology has been around since almost the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and today. It's continued on. It's utilizing atmospheric oxygen, separating it into fuel, and then burning it yourself. So essentially, you're a tankless engine utilizing atmosphere as fuel. That's just awesome. You have a completely unlimited source of fuel available to you as long as your systems are operating and are able to compress your atmosphere and separation technology to get you to where you need to go. So looking at the past base of nuclear cold fusion to hybrid mix into a jet engine into a new technology that won't be ready for at least another 8 years to unproven and increased safety margins from nuclear, to me, doesn't make any sense.
So we're talking about far-reaching here.
Yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to be a captain on one of these things? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Come on, man.
Come on.
I doubt it. Highly doubt it.
Not at our company.
Yeah, we always get the scraps, right? After every other company gets an airplane, then we'll go, okay.
Yeah.
And Rob, what did you ever see anything like that at your time as a crew chief? Or
no, not really. I mean, my time was, the 117 was the stealth airplane at the time. So, that was all about stealth technology, radar absorbent materials and stuff like that. But if you take a step back and just, extrapolate some of the stuff from the article, they talked about the X-15, That was 55 years ago. There's a lot of, stuff that happens in secrecy that you don't find out for 10 to 15, 20 years down the road. And, come to realize that, it's way more superior as far as speed, agility, or whatever the case may be when it comes to aviation or even space technology. I mean, look at SpaceX and all that other stuff that's going on in that world, in the private space world. The advancements and some of the stuff that they're doing is just mind-boggling to me. So, stuff that, when you bring all that into what we're talking about today, it sounds like it's, something that's, definitely doable, but, costs and practicality and, is this going to be something that is going to be a, benefit to, the traveling public. I don't know if there's that enough business that goes on between London and New York to justify something like this right now. I mean, of course, I'm not in that industry anyway, or, I'm not in any kind of business as it is. So, I'm not going to spend somebody else's paycheck to do it. But, it sounds pretty cool. I mean, it's something that's, you look at stuff like the what's the big Airbus that everybody's getting rid of right now? Like the A380.
Yeah.
It's like, look at that side of it. Everybody wanted to build the biggest thing and all, like it just didn't work out because of the practicality of it.
Yeah.
They're talking about speed and, you're talking about aviation fuel, maybe not needing it anymore. I think it's going to be a while till we're at that point. They're actually looking at, the electric airplanes now, everything being powered by batteries, which
the weight ratio though with those batteries and the risk with battery over temp is, I think, too far. The technology just isn't there yet.
But it's an evolution though. It's something that's, you got to get through these stages to to get to where you're going.
I think
it'll eventually happen, but I don't think we'll ever pilot it or be a captain of it.
What time frame are you looking
Yeah.
at? Especially when you start talking about cold fusion and everything. If you just look at stuff like that, I mean, is that something that could be used? Well, maybe, except even when you were just talking about electricity and batteries, I mean, we had that in our homes, we had that in our cars, and now it's making its way into aviation. This particular article went with cold fusion, which is something that's unproven in every facet of life, and went right to aviation. I mean, aviation is going to be the last industry that's going to get any technology just because of the safety aspect of it. Is it something that could be worth looking at and could be doable? Well, I mean, sure. Like I say, I mean, a time frame is really what you're looking at, but we're not talking about something that's going to be in our lifetimes, and certainly not something that Captain Tony is going to be able to experience.
Oh man,
I know.
But Roger, you raise a very good point. We're gonna, if the cold fusion technology becomes practical, we're going to be powering our own. First, it'll start out small, like powering an air conditioning unit. And then from there it'll go to powering cars, and then from there it'll go to powering houses and buildings, and then industrial complexes. And then once the safety measures have been proven and statistically the data is in, then maybe we'll get into the public transportation of any kind, buses, trains,
just the
airplanes.
aspect and thought of, cold fusion as a concept changes the world.
Well, if Doc Brown could figure it out,
30 years ago, I think The Saint.
Saint.
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Shue. Great movie.
Yeah.
With the principle of cold fusion and how it could actually power everything with virtually no downsides. I mean, that's an earth-shattering, changing technology. But yeah, applying it to aviation is going to be the last step, and we haven't even gotten it to power the air conditioner yet.
Right. But, between that and I think the biofuel is going to be a realistic next step. We've already seen United had a flight from, I believe it was Chicago O'Hare to Dulles, where the left engine, I believe, was run on 100% biofuel, and the right engine was run on traditional Jet A, with Scott Kirby, CEO of United, on board. And they did it to prove that it was safe, the engines could run off it, and to remove the dependency on the petroleum products by using, those biofuels that you can grow. That, I think, is more realistic in the near future, in the near term for aviation than anything else. Because if you can lower that expense, that means profitability that is unheard of for the airline industry. And trust me, these executives know exactly what they're talking about when they're pushing this biofuel. Yeah, they can put it under the guise of global warming and environmentally friendly and all those little, cutesy unicorns and rainbow statements that they put out to the press. But at the end of the day, it's all about those greenbacks and the dollar. So if they can turn a profit, lower their margins to the point where the profitability is there, that's when it's going to happen. And that's why it's going to happen. So yeah, if you want to invest in something, I would invest in aviation biofuel.
Well, what is GA avgas going for these days?
I don't know. Let's look it up.
I couldn't tell you.
It's back when I started.
I'm guessing a lot of places it's probably 7 to 8.
Yeah, it's $3 at the pump. I think I remember seeing.
Actually, I can look
in Arizona
it up.
when we were going through it.
Airnav.com, local fuel prices. Let's type in KONT.
And that was back when car gas was $1.50, $2.
Yeah,
100
double.
Ooh, about.
I had to look up a flight for Burbank.
Okay,
so I've got Burbank's information.
Is that jet fuel or
$9?
That's jet fuel
$9
or
a gallon for 100 low lead.
$9. Yeah, Ontario's $8.75, and Chino is as low as self-serve $5.85.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Self-serve?
Self-serve, $5.85 for
where is that?
Chino.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Down the street. Cable's $5.60. That's the lowest. Self-serve at Chino, or Cable Airport. That's 5 miles from me.
Yeah, I bet a lot of places it's between 6 and 8. 6, maybe 6 to 7.
So the next thing I know a lot of our listeners are interested about hearing about are these new financing options for student pilots. Now, these are nothing new. Every once in a while, one of the legacy carriers says how they have financing options available because they're trying to attract people to get into their streamline or their pipeline for pilots. Now, we had a little bit of fluctuation. I know in this month of November, I believe, or December, they're not going to have a new hire class over at Legacy. Did I read that correctly? I don't know if that's just because they're running behind. They don't have enough instructors and simulators and things like that, or what the deal is, or maybe it's just a holiday thing. I don't know. I remember that they were saying they were going to hire an exorbitant amount of pilots this year. In the year 2022, I don't know if they've even come close to those numbers, but I don't think so. Now, how does that translate to those listeners out there that are working on their private, or maybe they're a CFI somewhere, building time, getting their 1,500 hours so that they can come on to an airline carrier and start their career? Well, American Airlines adds new financing options for student pilots, according to an article by Stephen Walker from Simply Flying. And again, I'll put a link in the show notes. The world's largest airlines look to attract more future pilots to its cadet academies. The cost of training to be a pilot is notoriously expensive, but American Airlines is keen for this not to be a barrier to aspiring pilots. The carrier has teamed up with American Airlines Credit Union to provide additional financing options for students accepted onto its cadet training program. Since its inception in the year 2018, nearly 600 cadets have joined the American Airlines Cadet Academy, of which 60 have already graduated from the program. Upon completion, pilots can interview for a first officer position at one of American Airlines' wholly owned regional carriers, Envoy Air, PSA, or Piedmont, before eventually progressing to the mainline carrier itself. The new financing options will provide more aspiring pilots the unique opportunity to enter the flying profession and go on to be a part of what is the world's largest airline by passengers carried and fleet side. Diversifying the pilot profession is important to American. That's why the training programs at American Airlines Cadet Academy cost in the region of $90,000 as part of the dedicated financing program provided by the credit union. Loans of up to $120,000 will be available with low fixed and variable rate options. And they're designed to cover all expenses, including housing and stipend costs. That's where I put up a red flag and a warning. We'll talk about that. Opening up the profession to a wider demographic is important to American Airlines, and providing suitable financing options to access its Cadet Academy is one way it can achieve this. Christina Flores, Managing Director of Aviation Recruiting and Programs, said, "Our work to grow and diversify the pilot profession is well underway. A critical part of that effort is our commitment to find more innovative ways to reach young, aspiring aviators and support them financially and through mentorship on their path to a career in aviation." So the article goes on. I won't bore you with all the details, but as the travel recovers from the pandemic worldwide, the industry sources predict that demand for pilots are going to continue to grow significantly over the coming years, and the airlines risk facing pilot shortage. Well, guess what? Just wait for Christmas, guys. Investing in training and recruitment and removing some of the financial barriers to aspiring pilots are all critical to keeping the supply of pilots flowing. Now, when we talk about diversifying, what they're saying without saying is that traditionally, those that have the financial means and they aspire to be a pilot can do it because whatever reason, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, they're able to help. Maybe they can afford student loans because they have a previous career and a job, and maybe they own a house and they have a family and they have collateral to get loans and they can start a career. But when you start looking at the ethnic communities and the demographics and the financial resources that are statistically unavailable, that's where you have hurdles in diversity. We've actually heard this many times, even through some of our past guests on this show. I can remember Adelia was talking about all the hurdles that she had financially, and being a female trying to break into this industry, and some of the terrible advice that she got throughout her journey. And we were all sitting here shocked with our jaws dropped, going, "They told you what?" So
shocking.
And all of us have daughters. So, to hear that as a father, as a dad, it kind of hits you in the gut, and you don't ever want your kids to have these hurdles. So we here at Squawk Ident always try to encourage all of the listeners out there. If you're listening and regardless of what you think might be hopeless, you got to try. There are options now for finances. Now, I said red flag earlier, and before I release this out to you guys for your input, I want to talk about that. I had the opportunity to go to a flight school in Arizona, that 10 months from zero to hero, right? And they said, "Oh, you're going to get a loan. You can't work because it's 7 days a week, and you'll never know your schedule. We're preparing you for the airlines. But here, take out this loan, and here's some extra that you have to take out. You just have to do it because you're going to have living expenses, and then you need a stipend for be able to get things and food and stuff." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." And I was young and kind of naive, and I fell into that trap. Now, I am very happy to announce that in the past few months, finally, after close to 20 years, my student loan is no more.
Hey, dude.
God.
That's a mountain that all of us had to climb, man.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah.
We just paid ours off like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a while for me too. I mean, it's pretty much the same track.
And it's a heavy burden to have that check go out every month. And, here you're all,
and I didn't even have that much.
Yeah. I mean, it starts out that way, but then over time, it kind of,
interest.
It's like, am I ever going to pay this off?
The other thing too is they're not very crystal clear about it. And you don't really, all you're interested in at the time at least in my mind, because I'm an idiot this way. So don't be like me, folks. Is you're applying for the loan because you're trying to get, your flight training in. You need money, you need finances for it, but you don't pay attention to like the real details of the loan. And my loans weren't federal loans.
Mine either. Yeah.
Like you get at a university, or probably
Right.
you get it from Embry-Riddle or Purdue and all that other places. But some of these places, like the pilot factories that you talk about, I don't believe those are federal loans. I think those are just regular.
They're private student loans,
Private
which will
student
follow
loans.
you.
So
yeah.
you miss out on a lot of possible differences that could benefit you. Like, I mean, not that I was all for this because it somebody has to pay for it, and eventually the taxpayers did. But those federal loans that just got paid off by our government, I mean, none of those things qualified for that.
Right.
So anyway, I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah, we can go down the whole slippery slope of what I heard people have done, to get rid of their loans. But yeah, it's a huge burden. And you think, I got to get it done because it's a seniority-based career field. I got to get in there. But if you are not careful, you need to be frugal. I mean, you got to save up money for your kid's college tuition, right? And student loans, as good as they are to get you in the door and get that training done, you got to, your priority should be paying those things off immediately. Don't sit there and go, well, I don't have to pay it back until I get a job at an airline. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Rob?
Well, here's one thing. I'm looking at our American Airlines website, and there's not a lot of information. There's none, as a matter of fact. This whole time you've been talking, I've been trying to look up cadet program, student loan. There's nothing.
Yeah, Kyle would have been a great host to have on the show today.
I'm sure they have it if you go to like their flight school. They probably have that stuff on their websites. But if you go to like the American Airlines, there's nothing here that even talks about.
Well, I'm sure that partially from an American Airlines standpoint or from a legacy airline standpoint, that probably on the mainline side of things, there's not going to be a lot of information on the cadet programs, because I doubt that the people that are searching for that information and that need that information are going to legacy websites.
Yeah, the website is aacadetacademy.com.
But that's the thing. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that if you're trying to go into the industry and you have no connections at all, you see an airplane that says American Airlines on it, you're probably going to go to American Airlines website and say, how do I fly for American Airlines? And there's nothing in there that says, we have a cadet program from zero to hero. And when you click on it, it says pilots for careers. It takes you to the pilot credentials website that makes you apply for a pilot.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes. It's aacadetacademy.com, at least the American Airlines one. I know United has one as well, Delta as well. So they all you just have to kind of dig a little bit, and my advice is dig into it and start making emails and phone calls, and you can find out about it. The AA Cadet Academy, which we've been talking about it from this article, it launched in 2018, and it's partnered with CAE in Arizona and Coast Flight in Texas and in California. That's the name of their flight academy, Coast Flight, to provide students with the training, financing, and mentor opportunities required to become a pilot. You can also contact those organizations and find out a little bit more about the cadet program. If you send the show here at Squawk Ident an email through our website, and you are inquiring about the Cadet Academy, I will find a link. I will find an email, and I'll get that back to you. Just send us an email privately, and we'll do our best to get you the information out there as a listener. The programs are there. You just have to. It's hard to get into them. We've actually had an episode. It was a relatively long episode on the cadet program. We had one of their recruiters on the show. It was about a couple years ago, wasn't it? And we talked about what they're looking for. We actually had some cadets on the show with us. We should probably do a follow-up, I think. for a future show to see their progress and see if they're actually flying the line now. They probably are. So yeah, there are financing programs out there. Now, Roger, you were talking about interest rates and how that's kind of become an issue. What did you mean by that?
Well, I guess I don't know a lot about this because I'm fortunate enough that I'm past this stage, and I'm fortunate enough that the cost of getting your pilot certificate when I did it is a whole lot less than, or was a whole lot less than it is now. Yeah. And I, from an interest rate perspective, I wonder about that on every level that there is, more so related to, and you guys probably have thought about this to a substantial degree as well, but for my kids, living where 3 of us here today live in Southern California, how are my kids going to be able to do all this stuff? Because the costs of things have increased, and the cost of borrowing money, while historically low for about the last decade, is now going up, and now we're borrowing larger sums of money. And specific to this particular topic, in aviation, the same thing is going to happen. And so my recommendation to a lot of people, I think that there's more programs that are coming out, like the quote unquote ab initio programs, where airlines or some sponsor, but primarily airlines, are going to actually, pay for a majority of your training. Because as soon as I hear the word finance, I mean, Tony, you brought up danger. Finance to me screams danger. You are getting yourself into a hole before you even started. And I think that there are an increasing amount of airlines worldwide, both domestically and internationally, that are actually looking at this going, if we want to have anybody to fly for us, we are going to need to help these people, because otherwise our bottom line is going to be hurt. And just like whether it's scram jets, biofuels, or pilots, in the end, the almighty dollar is what's going to dictate what any of these airlines are going to do. If you can get into a JetBlue program, because I think that JetBlue had one. I just read something maybe 2 weeks ago that Mesa Airlines is buying a whole bunch of airplanes and then renting them out for like $25 an hour or something in order to. So it looks like, judging from Tony's reaction, I'll send you the article on that, because I was briefly looking at it, and I'll send it to you. And then basically it's this pipeline to get you into, in this case, Mesa Airlines. If you're going to do these kinds of programs, you are going to need to sign some paperwork, because it's not like you can just do, I'll just use a Mesa program. I doubt you're going to be able to sign paperwork and get all these benefits of a Mesa program and then jump ship and go fly at SkyWest, or whatever, just as an example. But you get anything that you can do to avoid that word finance, I think, is going to help young budding aviators, because things in life now are just, it's insane how much things cost, and the cost of borrowing that money, that cost of financing, is going to really become a hindrance. And while all 3 of these people sitting here with me today will love to go on their soapbox about getting paid more, a lot of that money is then going to get siphoned off to making those student loan payments, like Tony just said, for not 1 year or 5 years, but you're talking decades. And because, like I say, when you start talking about borrowing $100,000 to $200,000, which is what it's going to take for a lot of people now, and you're paying 7 to 10 to maybe even 15% on those loans, that's going to be an eye-opening, sobering, depressing experience. And so, again, like I say, I think now and in the future there will be more programs that are probably offering programs that they're footing a more of that cost, just because, and if we want to get people in these flight decks in another decade or two, people aren't going to be able to afford it if we don't help them. And I guess that's just my 2 cents. Admittedly, it's a somewhat uneducated 2 cents, but just the whole concept of financing with interest rates doing what they're doing now is, it scares me for for me to a small degree, for my kids to a huge degree, and for all the budding aviators out there, it kind of by extension.
And
yeah, that's a good point.
And Captain Rob, your training came from many of our previous guests talked about how they either joined the Air National Guard or, they were in the Air Force or they went through some kind of military training, which really, you're giving yourself to the service of our country. And I just want to stop for a moment and say, first off, thank you for your service. It's always an honor to speak with you, both about your past and the military time you spent and your whole family, for that matter. But that training that you get from it is just so valuable. You're serving your country. You do it because you're there to serve, but you're getting a lot of training if you can get into an aviation program like you did. Did you see any financial burdens like some of the civilian private pilot or trainers?
There definitely is, and I'll say it from the standpoint of it's not necessarily monetarily downsides to it. Not to say that sacrifice to the service of one nation isn't something awesome to be able to do. It does incur its risks. There are times when stuff has to be done, and you cross your fingers and you hope you come back.
Right.
I mean, it's few and far between, but there are some of those times that we know about the risks. We'll get it done, and you go, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. We'll do our best, and you press forward with that. So the challenges are a little bit different. The skill set is, I don't want to say different or the same, but the level of responsibility thrust upon young aviators is immense, especially at young training levels, and definitely builds up your confidence level and builds everything into the profession that aviation does create. Not necessarily high speed, but definitely someone that's always thinking about all the realms of possibilities, all the options available to them, and to be able to make a decision where one needs to be made. So, military side, you don't incur the financial responsibilities. However, you do incur a lot more other unknowns and possibilities that won't dissuade you from doing stuff, but just a different path to get to the same result.
Yeah. Yeah. So
unfortunately, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and especially when you're talking about, the expertise and the skill it requires to get to the point to fly an airliner is not cheap. Just like the cost, with ticket prices, I always kind of rolled my eyes. Even now, even though I'm not in, an airline pilot, ticket prices, like, does the general public have any idea just how much money it takes to get an airplane into the air? It's not a cheap thing. It's not something that unfortunately, the world is not fair and not everyone's going to be able to afford it. But in order to get a plane into the air costs an immense amount of money.
Yeah. There's not a lot of margin either.
There's not. Nope.
Well, like we were talking about, just the price of fuel alone. One of our C-level people have said that for every penny of jet fuel, it's $40 million a year. The operating budget increases.
Yep.
Yeah. So every penny more that we pay for fuel is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and thankfully, at the time being, we haven't been doing the fuel surge pricing or additional fuel surcharge for our ticket pricing. But when the next round of economic analysis comes around and where we have to make the proper ticket adjustments, it's going to be for that fuel surcharge. It really will be.
Yeah, I highly recommend that everyone buy a ticket today because, we're spending more than ever. We're spending more than ever on paying for pilots, right? At the regional level, especially, these guys are walking on the street making six figures within a year or two. It's amazing with all these bonuses they're getting. Now the flight attendants are getting more rest, which as we heard the president of the flight attendant union say that they're just going to have to hire more flight attendants, which means more expense. Well, that. And now fuel costs and operating expenses and all this stuff. Guess who's going to pay for that? It's not going to come out of the wallets of the executives or the company or the shareholders. It's going to be coming out of the customer. They're going to have to pay more to fly in the future. It's just inevitable. And now with inflation, what is it? 6.5 up to 8% increase in inflation this year. Yeah. Those ticket prices are going to go up quite a bit. So buy your ticket now.
Yeah.
Well, good idea.
It's also one I also implore people to kind of do the math as well. Just from a standpoint of if you're flying on an RJ with 75 seats, multiply your fare by 75. What do you think the pilots are getting paid? What do you think the flight attendants are getting paid? How much is gas? How long is the flight? How long is the ground crew getting paid?
Right.
How much for the mechanics? How much is the payment on the aircraft? What's the insurance? And you go, that's only one flight on one day at this time frame, and going, how are they even in business?
Landing fees, gate fees,
landing fees.
All this operational expenses.
Planes do not make money on the ground.
And
they got to turn that thing and get it in the air.
The people that run the website, the people that run all the apps and the technology and all that equipment that it takes.
Credit card sales.
We have a fantastic opportunity for you today on this flight. You can get 50,000 bonus points or bonus miles. If I hear that PA one more time, just one more time.
We're a credit card company with airplanes,
Well, that's when I press and hold the PA button, and you get these loud and annoying sounds coming over.
Yeah.
Nice. Ding. Well done. Well played. Nice segue.
That was fantastic. Thank you.
It all comes together in the end.
Speaking of old man, do you know who the key players in your industry are? And I think it's important. We talked about interview strategies recently on a couple shows ago. We were talking about, hey, before you go for an interview, know who the CEO is, know who the IT person is, or the chief operating officer, the financial officer, all these positions in the company. Know the stock price. But that doesn't, mean anything about me flying an airplane. Well, yeah, we know this, but if you really want to work for a company, do your homework, do your due diligence, so that when you go for that interview, you might pass the technical portion like flying colors. And really, what are they looking for? Do you have the minimum requirements of flight time and experience? Yes, you do. All right, check. Do you have a good personality? Can I sit next to you on a trip and not want to kill you? Are you an asshole? This is really what they're looking for. And if the answer is, that you have a good personality, okay, check. Then they want to see if you came prepared. And can you imagine how it would suck if you technically were proficient, if you passed the sim event and you got through all of it, and then in the HR portion, they ask you who the CEO is of the company, and you're like, I don't know. Oh, thank you for coming in today. You can try again in 6 months. That would suck. So knowing this stuff for an interview is important. But I wanted to go beyond that. Do you know who the key players are in your industry? Earlier in the podcast, I mentioned I didn't even know that we had a new acting administrator for the FAA. Now, does that affect me directly? No, not really. But it's probably a good idea to kind of know who these people are. They're pretty important. Everybody knows Buttigieg, the transportation secretary. Hey, that's great. He's on the news like every other day talking about this and that with aviation and with the railways and all this stuff. And that's great. By the way, my hat's off to the railway workers for their contract. Now that the Legacy Airlines union has come back and the company wants to introduce this. I'm like, I'll tell you what, why don't you look at the gains that the railway workers were able to get? Let's make that the starting point before we start talking about what we're going to add on to that as airline pilots. Yeah. But I'm neither here nor there for that. So who is the FAA acting administrator Billy Nolan, right? The Federal Aviation Administration announced that the air industry veteran Billy Nolan has been named to serve as acting administrator when the agency's outgoing chief, Steve Dixon, stepped down. And this happened at the end of the month back in March of this year. Nolan will move from, let's see here. This is kind of old article. Let me see how I can fix it. Nolan moved into the interim administrative role from his position as the FAA's associate administrator for aviation safety, which he assumed in January of this year. In that role, Nolan had overseen a team of over 7,600 employees responsible for the complete span of aviation safety concerns. Nolan previously worked for several commercial airlines and served tours of duty in the U.S. Army as an airplane and helicopter pilot and safety officer. Billy Nolan has extensive expertise in aviation and a deep understanding of the vital role that the FAA plays in ensuring the safety of the traveling public. Quote from Mr. Buttigieg. We are grateful to have Steve for his service and to Billy and Brad for stepping up to the lead the FAA during this critical time. Now, what does this all mean to us as airline pilots? Well, do you know the guy who's kind of in charge of making all the rules? The last, where the buck stops? Well, Billy is very, let's just say he's on LinkedIn a lot. He likes to post videos. He had one here from the ICAO assembly, the 41st ICAO assembly that happened earlier in the year. Let's just hear a little bit about what he had to say.
Billy here, coming to you from the 41st International Civil Aviation Organization Assembly in Montreal. I'm here this week with Secretary Pete, Deputy Secretary Trottenberg, and other FAA and DOT officials. We've reinforced our commitment to global collaboration on aviation safety and sustainability, and also advancing innovative technologies. The FAA strongly values our safety partnership with ICAO. As safe as aviation is today, we should not and we cannot declare victory. We will continue to lead as the gold standard. We've been discussing emerging technologies and new entrants. The next era of aviation is dawning. That is why we are working to expand the safety partnership we have, whether it's for commercial airlines, space vehicles, or air taxis. Climate change and the need for the global aviation community to take action dominated much of the conversation here. For the first time, the U.S. has all the pieces it needs to transition to sustainable aviation fuel. It is absolutely key in getting the U.S. aviation system to net zero emissions by 2050.
And then the video cuts out. We know which direction he's going. His public videos that he's been putting out on LinkedIn and other social media platforms have all been revolving around how the FAA is a cleaner, gentler organization that is really looking at global warming and biofuels and net zero carbon emissions. But as we mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, it all comes down to dollars and cents. So can we make it all work and not get culture canceled or however you want to call it? So, but now we know a little bit, minute and a half video or soundbite from the FAA administrator, acting administrator, and the direction he's pushing. So the next time you read a little something about the FAA, we at least have an idea of the direction that they're moving towards. Do you know the direction that your company is moving towards? I personally have a LinkedIn account and I follow the CEO, the CFO of my company on LinkedIn. Why? Because I think that it's important to know where they're coming from so that when we get an email that's some kind of pocket email that to make it all sound real and fine and dandy and try to get us to vote a certain way or come up with some kind of agreement, I can at least have a more educated, well-rounded understanding of what's really going on, at least to the best of my ability. Do you guys follow any of our CEOs or anyone else in the industry?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I do. Uniteds, Deltas, Americans, just kind of, because you can kind of see it from, their point of view, like you said, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, on some things. And a lot of it's not really groundbreaking stuff that I see, but just sustain the loop.
Well, staying in the loop for number one, but at the same time, just because one guy's going to have a great idea, the rest are going to follow. So if you can get a pulse on what's going on of where they're leaning towards, you can kind of begin to formulate opinions, because I mean we're in an industry where they do travel as well. They'll pop their head into the cockpit or flight deck, and I can close the door and sit them down and go, "Hey, talk to me about this."
Yeah. And actually, I think they actually encourage that, because when they sit there and they go, "Oh, there's the CEO. Look, he's walking in the terminal." Yeah. Versus, hey, what's going on? Hey, Peter, what's going on, or whatever. And
my salad sucked this time. Can you fix it? Oh, come on.
I had 3 moldy strawberries on my crew meal. What the hell's going on around here?
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I'm not going to eat this. You want my cheese plate?
You got any mustard in that soup pocket?
Wow, and Roger hasn't even broken his
his game. I'm just letting this part go. I have a slightly different, I don't know, outlook or what I look for from my side. I mean, generally speaking, like from a CEO, CFO, I don't follow any of the legacy airlines. I always look at it in terms of doing Part 91. Like our regulations there's not a whole lot of changes within the Part 91 world. Those have been pretty much the regulations for, decades. Yeah. And they're not really changing. But because it is Part 91, everything is always changing from a job to job standpoint. There's this kind of this saying that no 91 job lasts forever. It's just a matter of when. It's not if, it's when. And so it's kind of keeping a pulse on the industry as a general. You guys have a union that negotiates pay for an entire pilot group, or even multiple unions, or really one big union that does a lot of stuff for a whole lot of pilots. We just kind of are, we're a group of 6 or a group of 8. Are we getting paid similarly to what the guy down the street is making? Because all that needs to be done on our own behalf. So that's kind of what I kind of keep track of. What is a daily rate for a contract pilot? How much does training cost? Something that you guys probably don't really ever think about. How much is the cost of your recurrent training? Do you know? That's something that I kind of have to keep track of, because if you do go your own way and become a contract pilot, you're now responsible for the cost of your own training. And so that's going to then dictate into how much you're going to charge on a daily rate, because if you're going to shell out $50,000 for recurrent training, you're starting $50,000 in the hole before you even work. And so it's those kind of general questions that I do that I more pay attention to. And then the things that directly affect me, I don't follow him, but I just visited him yesterday. My AME, man, you think about it, and that guy has more dictation over my entire career than anyone else in my life.
Oh, so totally. True.
Yeah,
totally.
It's like I try not to talk to him, see him, follow him, do anything. But at the same time, that's the guy that has the more say than over anything else in my entire life, because it's what my ability to provide for my family rests on. And maybe that's a little close, because I did, thankfully, I'm good to work for another year, because I just went yesterday. But that definitely, I think about that guy sometimes. Every time when that OLD flares up, am I dying?
How is this going to affect my medical?
Am I dying? Yeah. Am I going to be able to work? The 2 things that come up right off the bat.
That's right.
In the last show, we introduced a new segment called "Where in the World is Captain Keith?" Now, Captain Keith Wolzinger, he was on our show a while back. He's a podcaster, a 777 captain. We learned all about his journey in aviation. Just go back if you're interested. If you're new to the show and you haven't heard that episode yet, great episode. And he has a podcast Keith, come on, just record a new one. It's only been a few years. Let's do it. he travels around the world for his job, for his career. And he likes to frequent on these long layovers overseas. He likes to frequent some of these music spots, and he would interview musicians from around the world. I really found it so interesting. The world of klezmer music, actually. And last week, or a couple weeks ago, whenever we recorded the last podcast, actually it was more than that, but he sent in a video on his layover in Milan, Italy. And we just really enjoyed seeing his layover. They're so different than our layovers, being over in Europe. Well, where in the world is Captain Keith today? Yeah, well, Captain Keith's in Germany. Yeah, he's in Frankfurt. And he has sent me a little something. I haven't even seen it yet. Let's find out.
Hello again, Squawk Ident friends. Captain Keith here. This time coming to you from my layover in Frankfurt, Germany, where we lay over in the town of Mainz. Mainz is an old town with lots of quaint streets, exquisite architecture, fountains, and a lovely day like this, people were out walking their dog, and everybody was out just enjoying the day. First order of business, though, was stopping off for some coffee. My choice at the little coffee shop here was an espresso to get started. Thank you.
If you need more milk, then...
Okay, thank you. And after espresso, of course, the next thing to do in Germany is stop for at the pretzel stand. Taking in a pretzel, lots of varieties, and we continue walking on toward the riverbank. Lots of gardens, parks, and again, some more great architecture on the way down to the river. Here we see the Gutenberg Museum building, very nice, and walk through one more park, and then we arrive at the river. So this is the Rhine River, one of the main rivers in Germany. And we take it back, walking through this town square once again. And some more of the cobblestone streets. And stop again for another cappuccino at another coffee stand.
Oh, looks so good.
Before we moved onward to dinner, where chicken schnitzel is the order of the day.
Ooh.
And I'm also a train nut, so we had to stop at the train station and look at some trains going by. This is a high-speed intercity train called the ICE, or they call it the ICE. And one more local commuter train pulling out on its way somewhere. And the last thing I'll show you is the ringing of the church bells. Well, that's my layover in Mainz, Germany. Hope you get to visit one day and have you along on a trip. Auf Wiedersehen.
That was cool.
There you go. Wide body.
I know, right? Well, Rob, you were on the 7576 for a while, and you were doing pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah, it was pretty nice. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. What's your favorite layover overseas?
Montevideo, Uruguay.
Uruguay. And why is that your favorite?
Time zone changes, minimal. Still very European, but it's also South American, so a little combination of everything. You get a taste of Europe in South America, 8 hours flying, only 2 hour time change. Good exchange rate, and easy to come right back. I mean, North Atlantic flying in the NATS it's pretty cool, but a lot of stuff can go wrong very quickly. South America, a lot more options available to you.
Wow. Yeah, and I don't know if you have heard when last month was it? I went to Suriname, my first time.
Nice.
I always go through the bid packet every month. And before I bid, I look to see if there's any location that I've never been to. And if that's the case, I will bid it. And for whatever reason, being called as an international Airbus pilot, occasionally they'll put something like that traditionally was on a different type of airplane, and they'll throw it in the bid packet for a month or two. Or maybe it was in a different base, and they'll throw it in the Los Angeles base. And so I was able to do that, Dutch colony over in Suriname, South America. Kind of similar thing out of Miami. But yeah, I can only imagine. I really look forward to doing that kind of flying in the future. I know Captain Keith, by the way, thank you so much for sending that to me. I told him yesterday that we were going to be filming or recording another podcast, and if he had another audio to send me from one of his layovers, that'd be fantastic. I'll put it in the show, and he's there now, and he was able to put a little video together. Again, I eventually will get it up on YouTube. Time is fleeting very, very quickly here in the household of the Aviator Tony. But yeah, eventually I'll get all that stuff on YouTube so that the viewers from the YouTube channel can see really cool stuff. And thank you so much for putting that together on such quick notice, Captain Keith. Thank you. And Captain Rob, thank you for sharing your experiences also. Those are so cool to hear, and it kind of motivates us pilots like Rob and I that have been flying now for the mainline carrier for 4 or 5 years, and been doing kind of the same flying over and over again. It's kind of starting to get a little bit routine, and to hear those kind of experiences really does make us appreciate the job.
I'll definitely say, given the option, Rob, you're Texas-based, you get the opportunity to go down to Lima.
I'm domestic, so I don't do any of that stuff.
You will pretty soon because they're combined and everything. Yeah. But I mean, besides the all-night flying down and back to Lima, that's a very close second to favorite destinations.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money in Lima. I bought a lot of alpaca, baby alpaca.
That's an awesome place to go.
Cool.
That's all I can really say.
Yeah. And Captain Keith, every time I see him, he's like, when are you coming to the 777? Like, to be a FOB?
Whenever a few of you guys retire, we'll make it there.
There you go.
All right. Well, I got to get going.
All right.
Go Padres.
What? Go Padres.
Go Padres.
Is your son home from school? Is he going to have to clean up his room now?
No, he gets out in another hour and a half.
Okay. Well,
You're gonna
go easy on him. What was that?
I'll go easy on him.
All right.
Guys, have fun with the new cat.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'll take and send you a picture of Mia, Tony.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. It's great to join you again. I appreciate it. And go Padres.
Later, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Take care, guys. Rob, good to see you again, man.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Take care.
So, yes. Well, now that the legacy airline that we work for, the three of us work for, has put in order, and we have hard orders coming in of the new Airbus A321 XLR, extra long range. There is going to be some international flying done. I probably am guessing they're going to go out of Charlotte. I can't see them really going anywhere else. Charlotte to maybe Iceland or who knows where.
Philly's well, so what I've heard of.
Philly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to trek across country to pick up a flight that goes, But, hey, the opportunities are there.
Yeah.
Well, the final thing I wanted to talk about, on a positive note, that every year in October, we're allowed to wear a tie that is different than the normal uniform tie. And I know at Legacy Airlines, they're pretty strict about it. They used to be a lot more relaxed, but now they're like, oh, you got to wear the uniform tie, no novelty ties. You can only wear like a Christmas tie or a Thanksgiving tie on those days. Now, I don't know the exact dates you're allowed to wear holiday ties, but for the entire month of October, if you participate in the Stand Up to Cancer organization, you can purchase a pink tie. And I've been wearing my pink tie. I always contribute every year. It's the least I can do. I have friends, I have coworkers and pilots that have struggled with cancer, and it does affect your ability to fly. We will soon have on the show a returning guest who will tell us all about his experiences. I'm excited about that. Captain Kevin, looking forward to that. But it's a very, very serious thing that is just really, it's becoming more and more prevalent, I think. Like every other day I hear, hey, did you hear about this person? Did you hear about that person coming down with cancer? I have one of my good friends' wife just got the notice that she went through her treatment and she is now cancer-free. So congratulations to Joanna. Congratulations. But it's been nearly 6 years that American Airlines has been partnering up with Stand Up to Cancer. And it has made its single largest donation. American actress and singer Mandy Moore joined American Airlines and SU2C to launch this year's campaign.
We can do great things when we stand together. With support from American Airlines, Stand Up to Cancer is closer than ever before to achieving its mission to make every cancer patient into a long-term survivor. Through this incredible collaboration, we are pushing cancer research to new heights. Doctors and scientists, American Airlines team members, patients and their families all working and standing up to move progress forward. So get on board and stand up to cancer with us. When you make a donation of $25 or more to Stand Up to Cancer, you'll receive 25 bonus American Airlines Advantage miles for every dollar donated. When you use your American Airlines Advantage MasterCard credit card to make a donation between $25 and $10,000, you'll get 50 bonus American Airlines Advantage miles for every dollar you give until $1 million has been donated. Go to standuptocancer.org/American Airlines.
Since the beginning, its support of SU2C in 2016, American has raised $13.5 million to support the research center's mission to make every cancer patient a survivor. This year's donation is the largest single contribution the airline has made to SU2C. In the 6 years that American Airlines has partnered with them, the research has contributed to 6 new FDA-approved treatments for cancer. Rusty Robinson, co-founder of Stand Up to Cancer, reiterated SU2C's gratitude for American Airlines' support of its work. And if you are in any of the airports that American Airlines services and you look up on some of the reader boards behind the gates, you'll see our very own Captain Kevin Elmore standing right next to Mandy Moore. And I've been meaning to ask him, dude, is that photoshopped or were you really standing next to Mandy Moore? Because that's pretty cool. I'll put a link in the show notes for this particular article from Simply Flying Magazine. Yes, our very own Kevin is standing right there next to her. You can watch the little YouTube video. But yeah, I think it's very important. If you have the ability, now every airline pilot in the country is making enough money where they can at least give like $20-25. My very own brother-in-law's name is on the Stand Up to Cancer livery. I made a donation when that airplane was being designed and came out. First time I flew that airplane was pretty cool. I FaceTimed my entire family when I did the walk around. It took me a while to figure out where the name was. When you look at it from afar, it has the Stand Up to Cancer logo on the side of the Airbus A321. And the letters are actually made up of all the names of either cancer survivors or people who have died from cancer or have had cancer or what have you. And all the employees had an opportunity with a small donation that they could put a loved one's name in there, and they send you an email showing you the aircraft with a little circle on the fuselage to show you where your name of your loved one is. And so I had, at least a guide. It took me a while, but I found it, FaceTimed the whole family. Everybody was in tears. And it just, what a just sobering experience to fly, to be at the controls of an airplane like that. And it's just a gesture, really, but it means a lot to so many. So I just want to take an opportunity to point that out, that there is American Airlines is doing great work.
Yes, it is. I flew that aircraft about let's see, I got it up here in July, and it was really neat to get up close to. I think it was the first time I ever flew that aircraft to tail number 162AA or nose number 894.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But it was really neat to get right up close on it and then actually be able to read the names and see the delivery on it. It was really neat. It was really a nice way to honor those individuals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now it's I think my grandmother's name. We put it up on there.
Cool.
Behind 2L door is where hers was written. Haven't yet been able to fly it, but
yeah. Well, it you see it around quite a bit.
Yeah,
just got to get lucky, I guess.
Oh yeah,
and yeah. But when you do, definitely go as a captain. It's kind of tough because captains traditionally don't really do many walkarounds. I know Rob is the exception. I can remember flying with Rob going, hey, when it's your leg.
Fair weather walk around, Captain.
Oh, the 40-40 rule?
I do.
Or the 50-50 rule? No, Rob's like, when it's your leg, I'll do the walk around. When it's my leg, you do the walk around. So we split it, you know. And I thought that was just really cool. I love it when captains do that. But
I got to remember what I'm looking for.
Yeah, 90% of the time though, it's like you get to the airplane late because of a connection. The captain's everybody's on board, and you're like, oh, okay, and they're like, yeah, I didn't do a walk around. Go do one. It's like, well, you've been sitting here for 30 minutes. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but can't let my coffee get cold.
Oh yeah, kick a tire.
That's right. Take
my time. And maintenance goes, all good with the airplane? I don't know. It's called a walk around, not a look around.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I learned a little bit about what's going on in the industry. Congratulations to the Flight Attendants Union for getting legislation and rules passed with the FAA to get that rest. You guys deserve it. I could never do your job. Brass knuckles and a taser, maybe, but not me. Don't think I could handle it. There'd be a lot of dented coffee pots if I was a flight attendant right now, I'll tell you right. But congratulations to them. Congratulations to Captain Roger for being the owner of a new kitty cat.
Yeah. Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah, good luck, Roger. As if he ever listens to the podcast. He'll never hear that. He goes, well, I was in it. Why do I got to listen to it?
He's too busy.
I want to say thank you to Captain Roger and Rob D for joining me today, and a very special thank you to Captain Rob Cosand for being our guest host today. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Roger. It's been a pleasure. Keep on doing it, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, and by all means, we'd love to have you on again and again and again. It's just, I love getting your input. You're just an all-around good guy. So much respect for you and what you're doing. And
thank you.
And the fact that you've got the baby and you're still on reserve and you're both working and you're making it work. And I've been there.
Usually when the baby's down, that's when I take my nap too. And we've probably taken away your nap. So
it's all right.
Yeah.
He just has to go to work to get some rest. I get it. That's what normally do.
Exactly. As Kyle, which is why he hasn't been on the show for a year.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's always like, I got the baby. I got the baby.
Yeah.
But, I hope you, the listener out there, has enjoyed the show. And we really hope that you can spread the word and pay it forward by sharing this podcast online and with your friends. And let them know, hey, have you heard about Squawk Ident? It really does help us out. Make sure to subscribe and follow Squawk Ident Podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. We also love receiving listener feedback. You can send us an email or even an audio file, record it on your iPhone. Just send it to us in an email, like Captain Keith is doing. Just send us a little heads up. How you're doing? Are you in the airline industry? Are you in flight school? How's your progress going? We love hearing that, and we will share it on the show. You can check us out at www.aviatortony.com. That's Alpha Victor, the number 8, Romeo Tango Oscar November Yankee.com. You can help produce the show by sending us a couple bucks right there on the homepage. All that goes to beer. No, I'm kidding. It goes to paying for websites and things like that. Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram users, you can also find us under the Squawk Ident Podcast. One final thank you to all of you for taking the time to listen to these grateful aviators. Keep the dirty side down out there. Be safe and take care of each other. Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Later.
It's an entirely different kind of flying.